Hello, lovely people. I hope you're all doing well. I know you're lovely people because you wouldn't be here otherwise. It's Go Do Your Own Research. Welcome to my channel. We are going to do a quick live stream tonight. Well, quick for me, as we get to the end of 2025. So 2025, one thing that happened this year was Ian Watkins, a notorious and disgusting paedophile, was killed in prison. And so I saw a lot of people talking about it, but not so many people talking about the hero with that story, and that was his ex-girlfriend, Joanna Mjadzelics. I hope that's how you say her name. So I wanted to do a live stream dedicated to her tonight because she deserves it. A very brave and strong woman who went to the police, who knew this guy, what he was doing in 2008. Yet she was ignored. She was defamed. She was gaslit. And she carried on. She didn't give up until eventually he was convicted of his disgusting crimes. So I'm using her channel as a reference point. We show you, because she has a YouTube channel. She's posted everything I believe she wants people to see. Because it's very easy, if you don't know, to ignore what happened here. And I'm sure the police have done as good a job as they can to make sure as few people as possible do know about it. Because I don't remember I actually do not even remember anything about this. I just became aware of him from from seeing him appearing on true crime channels. But yeah, so then I started like seeing the interviews that she'd done with the police, with TV shows and the news. And I was like, oh my God, this poor woman, what she went through is just horrific. So on her own channel, it says, let me show you a picture of her actually. There we go. She says, empath, philanthropist, campaigner, former soldier and volunteer police officer. Wow, she still volunteers with the police after all that. Warrior, animal rescuer, outreach volunteer, mum to one human, four fur babies and other fostered animals. I only have one social media account, but never use it. It's in links on here. If I don't add a link to anything, it isn't me, and I'm very, very rarely online. So that's her. And we're going to start with...
I don't know what went wrong because I reported...
You not get ahead of myself. We're going to start with this clip, which is her on This Morning in... Actually, before we do that, I was going to show an article because I tried to look for a statement. I tried to see if she'd made a statement after he was stabbed to death. And I found only articles about him. There was one saying 2 men have been arrested. I don't think they've been charged. But I did hear it was a drill rapper and some other guy. But anyway, in 2023, there was another incident where he was stabbed in the neck. And I think as well, from what I heard, he was still having access to mobile phones. He was still using drugs. He was a serious drug addict. He was still having access to money, and he still owed money for debts, for things like phones and drugs in prison. And prisons are not safe. So, you know, she said in 2023 that he had a target on his back in prison. That's her. And she said the former girlfriend of convicted paedophile Ian Watkins has said she is not surprised the singer has been attacked in jail following reports he has been stabbed. The former Lost Profits frontman is said to have been taken to hospital after being stabbed at HMP Wakefield in West Yorkshire. A spokesman for West Yorkshire Police said they were notified by staff at HMP Wakefield of an assault on a prisoner on Saturday, 5th of August. This is in 2023. It added he was taken to hospital where his injuries are not understood to be life-threatening and inquiries are ongoing. The disgraced singer was arrested following the execution of a drugs warrant. So after all she told them, this is why I wanted to make this video. Instead of taking action, the police turned a blind eye and said, well, because he's a celebrity, this is what I imagine they said. They didn't say this publicly, but they took the approach that because he was a celebrity, they wouldn't be able to get a conviction. And worse than that, they might be sued. So that's why they protected him. Anyone thinks that the police and the authorities are doing everything they can to protect women and children, they're wrong. They're wrong, because this is reality. And this was in 2013. He was jailed. So you can imagine what it's like now. Probably even worse. The disgraced singer was arrested following the execution of a drugs warrant at his Pontypridd home on 21st September 2012. He was jailed for 29 years in December 13 with a further 6 years on licence after admitting a string of offences, including the attempted R-word of a baby. The singer's former girlfriend, Joanna Mjadzelics, who first went to the police to raise concerns about Watkins' warped sexual behaviour around children, said he probably had a target on his back. Former soldier Miss Mjadzelics' concerns were first dismissed by detectives, siding with Watkins' claims she was a jealous ex who was harassing him. However, 4 years after police properly investigated Watkins and found that was a dangerous and manipulative pedophile. Miss Mjadzelics said, I'm not surprised that someone has got to him while he's been inside jail. The only surprise is that it's taken 10 years. The crimes he committed were beyond evil. He sickens me to my stomach. He's probably had a target on his back in a place like Wakefield Prison for a very long time. Blah, 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 blah. 3 years after Watkins was jailed, the Independent Office for Police Complaints, the IOPC, found that there was a number of string of missed opportunities over a 4-year period before his arrest, which, if had been acted upon, would have saved some children from being abused. On one occasion, a simple check of a mobile phone owned by Miss Mjadzelics when she made a complaint about him would have revealed a message that spelled out his interest in sex with children, the IPCC ruled. It also found that Miss Mjadzelics first reported Watkins to the authorities in December 2008 and was video interviewed in March 2009 when she told officers she had a message on her mobile phone from Watkins about his desire to sexually abuse children. However, the phone was not examined because police thought her report was malicious. So yeah, that was a little bit about her history. Now, I'm going to show you this interview that she did. So this is on This Morning, and I'm not sure if this is going to get copyright claimed, because I made a live stream before and some of the clips got copyright claimed, which kind of ruins the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it all the way through and then leave my commentary to the end, because it's only 4 minutes. Otherwise it just sounds like a mess. I have to do more work. But yeah, this is going on This Morning, which is kind of ironic because we all know, well, people that live in the UK know, that Philip Schofield was a presenter on This Morning, another alleged pedophile who groomed a boy after going to a school visit and then got him a job there. Then he was in a relationship with him. Whichever way you look at it, doesn't sound too good for old Phil. I can't remember what happened to him, but I think he was trying, last thing I heard, I think he was trying to have a comeback. But anyway, it's just very, very obvious that in this country, if you have a high profile and you're accused of these crimes, the authorities and the media will be there to cover up for you. Meanwhile, innocent people that try to do the right thing are made to look like the bad guys.
I don't know what went wrong because I reported the images that he'd sent me. I went straight to the Chief Constable about the images that he sent me. When he sent me them in 2011, I was put in touch with a detective sergeant that I'd previously dealt with, and he just couldn't be bothered. I was asking him, how am I going to get these images to you? He sent these images, how am I going to get them to you? And he just couldn't be bothered. And then 3 more times after that, I took my laptop into the police station. They refused to take it. And finally, when 2 officers did view one of the images, they swore blind it was over 16, they said. They swore blind, and I'm so confused. I'm thinking, no, he isn't.
And you did explain to them, you
tell me to get on with my life.
And you were saying to them, don't you understand? This is what I'm trying to do.
And I was so confused. And I actually said to them, I feel so stupid. Because for over a year, I've been trying to get the police to deal with this. And now you're saying it's an adult. It's not. And I was so confused.
How did you feel about their reaction then to you? Did they literally dismissed you?
It was literally like walking into a wall. Every time I knocked on so many police doors, but each time I was slapped in the face by a wall.
Why do you think that was? Because there were very serious allegations you were making, you know, that you had the imagery there on your laptop.
From the documentation that I've now had disclosed to me from the CPS, there is actually a note from one detective sergeant, and it says, although the images are alarming, we're reluctant to investigate because it would be high profile and create a lot of press interest.
Okay.
So this is echoes of Savile then, and Operation U-Tree, and how Savile got away with so much for so long.
And there were lies about me as well. Ridiculous lies saying that this one detective sergeant had wrote that I'd been sectioned. Never happened. I had a restraining order against me from the Watkins family. Never happened.
South Wales Police are one of the forces being investigated by the Independent Police Complaints Commission.
Yeah.
And they've released a statement saying, we know it's difficult taking that first step in reporting child abuse, and the people coming forward, they need support. But we would urge anyone with concerns about a child or a young person to get in touch with us immediately. We can promise you that you will be listened to and given the help and support you need. That did not happen to you initially. I think they know that. They know there were discrepancies there. The Independent Police Commission Commissioner says, while our investigations into the three forces have run separately, there are clearly links between them, and probing a substantial number of reports and allegations over a 4-year period has been a complex process, but they're trying to work very hard to complete these inquiries as soon as possible. It seems there is a case to answer.
You were arrested in January last year, so we've got that. You were taking this information and nothing happened. This went on for a few years. You were arrested in January last year, so how did that happen?
The first arrest was January 2013. And that was over the tape that was played in court. Released no further charges. Obviously, they believed the truth then. However, just over a year later, March last year, knock on my door. Well, the door buzzer rang at 7:30 in the morning, and South Yorkshire police officers at the door to arrest me on behalf of South Wales. No warning whatsoever, because all along, the police had been calling me all the time, thanking me, no warning whatsoever. And I'm thinking, is this because I spoke to the press? That was my initial reaction, and that's been my thought.
So you felt any regrets at all about your decision in coming
about the images that he sent me when he sent me them in 2011.
I don't have really any regrets.
I was put in touch with a detective sergeant that I'd
Don't know what happened there. Okay. So yeah, it sounded like she was saying the police retaliated because she spoke to the press about what was going on. That's why I wanted to play her videos, so we get it straight from her. Okay, this one was her and her solicitor outside court making a statement. So I think this was, I think that this morning one was in 20, when was it? I forgot the date already. It was 10 years ago, so that was in 2015. This one is, I think, 11 years ago. Let me see. Let me play it.
My name is Dale Harris. I'm Joanna Mjadzelics' solicitor. I'm going to read a statement on her behalf and wish to make a statement myself thereafter. Today, after a lengthy deliberation, a jury of 11 members reached a true verdict according to the evidence. The jury confirmed that Joanna Mjadzelics had a legitimate reason for her actions and rejected any notion that she was complicit in her dealings with Ian Watkins.
Mjadzelics, that's how you say her name. So they put her up on a charge as well as him.
This was a spiteful prosecution of a woman who, over a 4-year period, single-handedly and doggedly pursued a campaign to force the sleeping authorities to wake up to the reality of the appalling crimes against children she feared Ian Watkins was committing. In December 2008, Ms Mjadzelics first reported Watkins to both South Wales Police and to Pontypridd Social Services Department. But following a superficial and inadequate investigation, instead of taking her claims seriously, the police rejected them and dismissed her allegations as those of a disgruntled ex-partner with mental health issues. The initial flawed inquiry infected every subsequent report she made to the police. Like some Orwellian nightmare, truth about Watkins suddenly became lies, while unsubstantiated rumour about her became fact. When she unearthed new evidence of abuse by Watkins and reported him again, the new inquiry was undermined by the lies which fated the original investigation. Time and again she reported him, and time and again she was ignored. Even when she sent a letter to a member of the Watkins family in an attempt to protect one particular child from harm, instead of seeing Watkins for the paedophile he really was, quite astonishingly, it was Joanna Mjadzelics who the police threatened to arrest for harassment if she dared to make contact with them again. She decided to play Watkins at his own game. He eventually fell for it. And when Watkins sent her child abuse images, she reported him again. This time she went to the top, to the Chief Constable of South Wales. However, her email in fact reached the wider audience of the Association of Chief Police Officers at general email account. It was in fact Miss Mjadzelics who tracked down the two women who delivered their own babies for Watkins to abuse. Both the identities and whereabouts of the women were handed on a plate to the authorities, who were blissfully unaware of their involvement. As the court heard, in private, the police thanked her for bringing Watkins and his accomplices to justice. In public, however, they shunned her, and instead they prosecuted her for the effort she made to ensnare him. As we know, Watkins is serving a 35-year extended sentence of imprisonment for the most serious sexual offences against children. His two female abusers received sentences of 14 and 17 years for abusing their own babies. There have been many who, ignorant of the facts, have been quick to rush to judgment about Miss Mjadzelics. And despite press reports to the contrary, at no stage did she send to Watkins images depicting child abuse. We thank the jury for its patience and its careful consideration of the disturbing evidence they had to endure in this case. And let us not forget that there is an ongoing investigation by the Independent Police Complaints Commission into the alleged misconduct on the part of a number of police officers across several fraught areas. It is hoped that the focus of public attention will now rightly shift to the actions and inactions of the authorities in response to the reports made to them by Ms Mjadzelics, and it will be for others to judge whether the children could have been spared the horrific abuse to which they were undoubtedly subjected had the police taken seriously the concerns of Ms Mjadzelics some 6 years ago. Thank you very much. I think Ms Mjadzelics would like to say a few words as well.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Michael Walcott for looking after me, taking on this case, and seeing the truth from the very beginning, believing in me. I'd like to thank Dale Harris as well. There's no one else to thank, really. There's no one else to help me. It's been me against the world, really. Me protecting the kids when everyone else called me a liar, a psycho, everything else. If I have to lie, then they come the police. And as Dale said, it's just so many kids could have been spared if
Not really.
So yeah, she said only one person had helped her in that one. It's just really odd watching it because sometimes, you know, when you just see how sometimes you feel like you don't think the way everyone else thinks, but then you see something like that, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, a lot of brainwashed people around. Okay, let's go to this one. Oh no, let's go to this one. Okay, so this one is 11 years ago, 2014. When's that one? Yeah, that's 2017. That one was that one I just showed was 2015. Sorry, I'm really bad at numbers. Okay, we're going to do Channel 4 now.
John.
His crimes were horrific. Multiple sexual offences involving children. In one case, the attempted rape of a baby. Ian Watkins, former frontman of the rock group Lost Prophets, will be sentenced tomorrow. But there is increasing concern about the way police handled repeated allegations that Watkins was abusing children. Channel 4 News understands that South Wales Police, who today admitted issues of concern, was provided with information about the singer from as many as 5 other forces prior to his arrest. Watkins' former partner has told us she tried for years to report him, but was ignored. Our Home Affairs correspondent, Andy Davis, has this report which contains some extremely distressing references to child abuse.
This is Ian Watkins, the former Lost Prophets frontman who last year attempted to rape an 11-month-old boy with the help of the child's mother. The man who encouraged another young mother to sexually assault her own 1-year-old daughter for him. Were there other children he abused, and could he have been stopped sooner?
If there are any other victims out there, then South Wales Police has said it'll work tirelessly to get them justice. But just how tirelessly did this force work to identify the threat posed by Watkins in the first place?
Because South Wales Police and 2 other forces are all now under investigation by the Independent Police Complaints Commission, the IPCC, amid accusations they failed to stop Watkins despite repeated reports about him.
Did you have a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with him?
No, I would never describe it as that.
Many of those reports, we understand, were made by this woman, who is central to the IPCC's investigations. Joanna Mjadzelics, former soldier, former escort. She herself was arrested in connection with this case, but then released without further action. Inquiries continue, we're told. She first met Ian Watkins 7 years ago, and they began a casual relationship. It was on-off, she says, at the outset fueled by cocaine and soon mired in his grotesque fantasies.
He began telling me about all these 14-year-old fans that he loved to take the virginity of. And then it just got worse and worse. And then he would start telling me things about he wanted to get me pregnant so that he could rape our daughter. He wanted to kidnap children. He wanted to get me involved in it.
It was in December 2008, almost 4 years before his arrest, that Joanna Mjadzelics claimed she first reported Ian Watkins to South Wales Police.
I just noticed that bit there where she said he wanted to get her pregnant so that he could then abuse the baby. I can't help noticing that is something I keep hearing over and over from these victims of sex offenders.
She claims she gave the Child Protection Unit in his hometown of Pontypridd the name of a girl aged around 4 whom he'd apparently boasted of abusing. She'd be interviewed by her local force in West Yorkshire, but eventually told, she claims, by a detective sergeant in South Wales Police that the investigation was being dropped.
I said to him, look, I'm not a psycho, I'm not a liar, I'm not anything else that Ian would have said I am. I'm telling the truth, and if anything else happens to another child, it's on your head, not mine. And that's how I left it. And that was April 2009.
The following year, and their relationship now over, during the Leeds Festival where Watkins is playing, they meet again. In her hotel room, she says he shows her a video of a girl she'd never seen before being sexually assaulted.
How old do you think the girl was?
Maybe about 5 or 6. And I knew then that I wasn't wrong. And I thought, what can I do? The police have said that I can get harassment charges. What can I do? What am I going to do? He's got a video on his laptop, which he's going to hide. What can I do?
She would eventually go back to the police. It was 2011. This time, Watkins, she says, had Skyped her from Los Angeles, telling her about a 5-year-old girl he'd been assaulting, and then texted her 3 images of child abuse. In her complaint to the IPCC, Joanna Mjadzelics claims she immediately emailed South Wales Police to say Watkins had escalated the abuse and had now raped at least 1 young child.
Eventually, she says she would get a call back from the same detective sergeant she dealt with previously in the Child Protection Unit.
He appeared uninterested, she alleges.
Did he say to you, can I come down and have a look at these images on your computer?
No.
Did he ask you to send the images to him?
Nope. No, nothing.
Did he suggest any further means of investigating your claim here?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Precisely what this detective sergeant did or didn't do forms a large part of the IPCC investigation into South Wales Police. He's been moved, we understand, from frontline duties while the inquiry's ongoing. Today, South Wales Police confirmed to us they did receive an email about Watkins around the time Joanna Mjadzelics claims to have sent it. The IPCC is investigating South Yorkshire Police too, the next force which Miss Mjadzelics claims she tried to warn about Watkins. It was spring 2012.
She claims she came to this police station in her hometown of Doncaster and gave them the name of a baby whom Watkins, she says, wanted to abuse.
A baby whom we now know, tragically, he did abuse, with the help of the child's mother. Joanna Mjadzelics says she spoke to the mother early last year before it all happened.
She's telling me in the emails how he made her take meth and heroin while she was pregnant. And then we exchanged phone numbers. And she called me and she said that Ian had said that he wanted to put GHB on his dummy and in his sippy cup and rape him. And I said, you need to report it. You need to report it. And she said, yeah, but I'm scared to. I said, no, you need to report it. I said, I will make an appointment and you will come with me to the police station and we will report him together.
On the 6th of March last year, Joanna Mjadzelics claims she went to the police to report the threat on her own. The baby's mother, she says, would later call the police to say it was a lie. What police action, if any, resulted from this is not clear. What is clear, however, is that just over 3 weeks after this apparent warning to the police, Ian Watkins sexually assaulted the 11-month-old in this London hotel, with the child's mother helping him. In total, Joanna Mjadzelics alleges she reported Ian Watkins at least 8 times over 4 years to 4 police forces before his arrest.
It's shocking. It's just shocking. I was telling them repeatedly about various children of varying ages, and the mothers as well, and they were just pushing me away, telling me to go away, and I didn't go away. I just kept going back and back and back, and nothing was done. Nothing.
And yet at times, with all this knowledge, she also kept going back and back to Watkins himself.
A lot of people watching this will ask the question, why, when you
That's
knew what he was capable of, didn't you stay 100 miles away from him?
Because I was the only one reporting him. And I kept saying to the police every time I gave them new information, and they said, you need to keep away because you'll be charged with something, you'll be brought into this and you'll be charged with something if you don't keep away. Every single time they kept saying that, and I kept saying, I don't keep seeing him, I'm not going to keep giving you information, I can't get that information.
As Ian Watkins awaits his sentencing tomorrow, it is now up to the police watchdog, the IPCC, to give their verdict on Joanna Mjadzelics' deeply unsettling claim that the police could have stopped this man a lot sooner.
Andy Davis joins us live now from Cardiff. Andy, these are...
So what do you think? Do you think the police could have done more? Certainly seems like it. Okay, we're going to do one more. We're going to do one more. I just feel like every time there's a story like this, we hear the same thing over and over. We hear, oh yeah, we made a mistake, but we're not going to do it. We're going to have an inquiry. It's all going to be fine now. It's just the same shit again.
Police watchdog says the former singer Ian Watkins could have been arrested for child sex abuse nearly 4 years if the South Wales force had investigated complaints against him. Let's get more on this from our correspondent in Cardiff, Mark Hutchins. So, Mark, just remind us of the case.
Well, it was a truly shocking.
Oh.
A global rock star adored by...
Try again.
Police watchdog says the former singer Ian Watkins could have been arrested for child sex abuse nearly 4 years earlier if the South Wales force had investigated complaints against him. Let's get more on this from our correspondent in Cardiff, Mark Hutchins. So, Mark, just remind us about this case.
Well, it was a truly shocking case. Here we had a global rock star adored by millions who privately was carrying out the most appalling abuse. In fact, in the end, it was a drugs raid that led to his arrest. But really, drugs offences were the very least. I remember being at his first court appearance in Magistrates' Court, and what we didn't know then, but we do know now, is that there was this timeline of nearly 4 years of opportunities missed by police to get him in the dock rather sooner, and to end what the judge who finally sentenced him to 29 years in jail called behaviour that was plumbing the depths of depravity. There were clanging alarm bells surrounding Ian Watkins. This IPCC report today highlights the fact that for so long the police turned a deaf ear to them.
So tell us more about these complaints. How many were there and what were they saying?
Well, I've got a copy of the report here, and it pinpoints what it calls major shortcomings in terms of the police investigation, if you can call it that, certainly for over a 4-year period into Ian Watkins. The main complainant was Joanna Mjadzelics. Now, she went to police repeatedly. First of all, in 2008, she took on her mobile phone, she had a message from Ian Watkins saying he wanted to abuse children. Now, the report finds the police didn't look at that phone. They simply didn't believe Joanna Mjadzelics. They didn't think she was a credible witness. But in fact, there were 6 people who went to police with concerns about Ian Watkins. And this report finds that there were 8 reports, there were 3 intelligence logs, but actually 0 interviews with Ian Watkins. He wasn't arrested over that period. He wasn't questioned. He wasn't asked what he thought about the allegations. Let's hear
that part. He wasn't arrested when they had 6 people. Because I thought it was just her, but it was 6 people that were speaking out.
Now from the commissioner who compiled today's report.
Bias, whether unconscious or conscious, has no place in modern policing. When someone comes forward with such a serious allegation, or indeed any allegation or report, it really shouldn't matter what they look like, who they are, what their lifestyle is, what they do. What's really important is what are they saying? And it's really important that's taken seriously and that some investigative work is done to see if there's any independent evidence to corroborate what they're saying.
So, Mark, what has been the police response to this?
Sorry, in a word, South Wales Police say that they didn't listen, they didn't properly investigate the complaints over that time, and that they are truly sorry. Now, there was one detective sergeant who faced a disciplinary hearing for gross misconduct. He was cleared at that hearing. Separately from this, there was also an IPCC report that came out last week into South Yorkshire Police, and that report criticised their inaction in terms of investigating Ian Watkins, because Joanna Mjadzelics went to them too. And that report found that there were 3 officers who would have faced disciplinary action at South Yorkshire. They would have, except that they've since retired, so they can't. And just going back to this report into South Wales Police, I'm just looking at the timeline of events, the summary of the complaints about him, and it says on various points, no action taken, no action taken, no action taken. Well, finally, the police did take action, but 4 years late.
Mark, thank you for updating us on that. Well, we can now speak to Michael Walkine QC. He defended Joanna Mjadzelics. Thank you ever so much for coming in. I know that Joanne didn't feel well enough to come and talk to us today, but I know you've spoken to her about this report. What's her reaction to it?
Degree of satisfaction. She's disappointed on a personal level. There's no apology to her. It's probably time for South Wales to respond with an apology which shows their integrity and to speak with grace about how they disregarded her. But it brings back these events, not as if she forgets them ever. Every day she tells me she cries for no obvious reason. Actually, the reasons are obvious. She was disregarded. She was someone who was defamed, written off as because of her less than conventional lifestyle. Maybe it wasn't a steady lifestyle.
She was a former sex worker.
Yes, she was a former sex worker, and so what? And she was wrongly accused during the trial of having been sectioned, mental health section. That wasn't true. And so to face a jury with a person who comes from that sort of background was difficult. Their starting point might also be to disbelieve her. But police who had the opportunity to look for corroboration of her claims didn't do anything. They didn't have the wit to examine her phone. On her phone was a text with a wish list of abuse from Ian Watkins.
Do you know why? Because she was in a sort of on-off relationship with Ian Watkins, wasn't she? She'd got this text message from him, which, as you say, clearly outlined his desire to abuse children.
Yes.
She went to the police. Why didn't they look at that phone then?
She went to the police with a laptop. One police officer said that he or she wasn't qualified to examine a laptop. So whereas you and I can look at a laptop and be alarmed and at least interested when we see a picture of an underage child, he or she, I forget, I think it was one, wasn't interested enough because she wasn't qualified. So Joanne went back again and again and again, 4 times in all. So they didn't ask about her phone, but here was the laptop. And she said, I've got a picture that he sent me. They denied in due course that it was an underage child. It was a child of 4 or 5. During the trial, they claimed it was a child over the age of consent. They were wrong because Joanne didn't count for them.
In the report, it talks about, doesn't it, that they wanted to find the right type of complainant to come along. That's what the IPCC commissioner says, because of her unconventional lifestyle. Do you think this happens in other cases?
It must do. It must do. So in the same way that police now are told to really listen to young children who claim they've been abused by groups of men, what's the difference? So she comes from an unsteady background, not a conventional background. She's not posh. Actually, my interest in this case began when I saw, after Watkins' conviction, she was interviewed on television. She wasn't glorifying in the conviction. She was disturbed, and it was weighing on her. What could she have done more to stop people, to stop children being in danger? Well, she couldn't have done much more than going to that police station 4 times armed with a computer, emailing the Association of Chief Police Officers, and telling everyone. In fact, on one occasion, she said to people who had the care authorities had the duty to look after children, she said to them, if he does something again, it will be on your head, not mine. She was warning them. She was right. She was telling the truth from the start and all the way through.
It's interesting that the report says that he wasn't treated differently in Watkins because he was such an enormous star, because he was famous.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I don't accept that. I'm cautious about that. I don't think the report, I've had a quick look at it, I don't think the report mentions a memo that I used during the trial. From one police force to another, it said, he is a famous rock star. She is a former escort who's been sectioned. There's the comparison. It's called celebrity privilege. I know about that.
Thank you ever so much for coming in to speak to us today. Very grateful to you.
The paedophile rock star Ian Watkins could have been caught nearly 4 years earlier if South Wales Police had investigated the case properly. The Independent Police Complaints Commission says that officers in South Wales missed a series of chances to stop the Lost Prophet singer's abuse of children in the years before he was arrested. Well, obviously last week, South Yorkshire Police were also reprimanded for their failings in handling the case. Sky's Laura Bundock has more.
Ian Watkins was a highly dangerous and manipulative paedophile. The details of his child abuse were shocking. But what's also alarming is how the police failed to investigate complaints about him. Among them, one from an ex-girlfriend who said Watkins had texted her describing how he wanted to harm children. But a report by the police watchdog finds officers in South Wales didn't examine her phone. The force refused requests for an interview, but released this statement.
Today's report highlights a number of failings in which information about Ian Watkins was investigated between 2008 and 2012, which the force entirely accepts and regrets. South Wales Police failed to listen and properly investigate information about Watkins' offending behaviour. For this, we are truly sorry.
Between the end of 2008 and September 2012, South Wales Police received 8 reports and 3 intelligence logs from 6 different people that made a number of very serious allegations about Ian Watkins' paedophile activity. But Ian Watkins was free to offend throughout that time because South Wales Police missed one opportunity after another.
Last week, the South Yorkshire force was also criticised for missing opportunities in the investigation. The NSPCC says it's vital all recommendations are acted on.
This is a pretty damning report, and it should be a wake-up call for those involved, both within the police in South Wales, but also for all agencies that are involved in child protection, to make sure that they listen to complainants and take them seriously.
Ian Watkins was jailed for 29 years in 2013, but we now know he could have been brought to justice much earlier had the police properly acted. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
Let's get the reaction of Peter Saunders, the founder of the National Association for People Abused in Childhood. He joins me from our central London studio. Many thanks indeed for joining us, Peter. Your reaction to the IPC's findings?
Good afternoon. Well, Well, yet again, we're discussing a catastrophic failure on the part of, this time, the police to apprehend or to take heed of the people who came forward to report these incredibly serious crimes. They were not heeded, they were not acted upon. And, you know, I'm often conflicted because at NAPAC, we deal with the police on quite a regular basis now, and we know that they're working very hard to get this right. And that they're very, you know, historically, I shouldn't be using the term historically, but in the past, if you like, I think there has been a reluctance on the part of so many people, including our police, to actually accept what they are hearing sometimes. And if you read the accounts of what Watkins did and planned to do and told people he was going to do, some people may have actually doubted that was serious. But we're not talking about 30, 40, 50 years ago. We're talking about relatively recently, 2008, 2009. And I am appalled that the police did not take these accusations.
It was happening literally while she was reporting it.
Allegations seriously, as they should have done, because that is their job, is to investigate. It's not to pronounce judgment, it's to investigate, and they didn't even do that. And this report is pretty damning of South Wales Police, although again I would say they are not the only police force that have had serious and legitimate criticism in the past. But let's hope that it is the past and that things will move on and that they will learn these lessons of failure, because in that intervening time between when Watkins was first reported to the police and those reports were ignored, more victims were abused, and that will keep my charity NAPAC tragically, sadly, busy for many more years to come.
Yeah, and when the police do something as simple as failing to look at somebody's mobile phone after an allegation has been leveled, it does raise questions about how importantly, how seriously they take these allegations that have been leveled against individuals, and especially individuals who perhaps consider themselves above the law because they are famous, because they are celebrities.
Well, absolutely. There's a lot of work to be done. A lot of it, I think, is around education and training. And, you know, NAPAC provides the best training that there is around working with survivors of abuse and how to deal with this issue. And only a couple of weeks ago, I was called by a very senior police officer in one of our forces here in England, asking for some advice and about how to go about an investigation and how to deal with the survivors involved, because he admitted that in the past they have shone a light more on the victims, if you like, should we say victim blaming, victim investigation and victim doubting, rather than looking at the actual alleged perpetrators. And that was clearly the case in South Wales. So I know the police are trying to get it right now, and we need to get behind them. And, you know, as I was walking here, we're in Millbank, as you know, as I was walking here today past the young policeman guarding Parliament and doing a great job and a brave job and interacting with the people, I realised just how generally our police do a fine piece of work, a job that most of us wouldn't want to do. But sometimes some of their colleagues get it spectacularly wrong. And when they get it so wrong, and when they get it sort of criminally wrong, then I think people need to be brought to account. And this report by the IPCC is very, very damning. And in a sense, it's a shame that some of the policemen at the heart of this have already retired, because I think they should have questions to answer about their behaviour and their lack of doing their job.
So should head.
That was exactly what happened with the Nicola Bulley case. Hardly anyone left in the job that had anything to do with the failings. What's the point? What is the point when everyone can see what's happening when it's happening? They don't want to listen. Anyway, we're nearly done.
Head's role for this?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was what I was implying, was that there would clearly be, I would have thought, enough evidence, if you like, to question whether or not those policemen should have held their position. And, you know, you can't kind of, in a sense, retrospectively dismiss people, but, and you know, you do 30 years in the police and then generally you retire. And as I say, most of them do a good job. But in this case, I do wonder whether or not we need to look at the system that allows people who have not done the job for which they are paid in the past. I wonder whether we shouldn't allow them to get away with that.
Peter, really good to talk.
Yeah, this is the one we hear about. I'm sure this is happening every day with lots of cases we do not hear about.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Thank you.
And you.
A former rock star who's been jailed for multiple cases of child abuse could have been caught years earlier if the police had investigated him properly. Ian Watkins, the lead singer of the band Lost Prophets, was sentenced to 29 years in prison 4 years ago. But an investigation by the Independent Police...
I thought it was 35 years, they said on the other report.
Complaints Commission found that South Wales Police missed a series of opportunities to stop him. Our Wales correspondent Sian Lloyd reports.
A rock star and a hero to his fans across the world. But in private, Ian Watkins was a paedophile. His behaviour was described as having plumbed the depths of depravity. His sexual interest in children was reported by his former girlfriend. Watkins had sent indecent images to Joanna Mjadzelics' mobile phone, but when she took it to the police, her allegations were not followed up. The police watchdog, the Independent Police Complaints Commission, has found officers' bias against her meant Watkins was able to carry on abusing children. Joanna Mjadzelics spoke today of the toll it's all taken. She said, "The IPCC report finally vindicates me and accepts that from the outset I was telling the truth and trying to bring a serious criminal sexual predator to justice."
South Wales Police didn't begin investigating Ian Watkins until 4 years after they were tipped off that he was a danger to children. He was arrested during a drugs raid at his home here in Pontypridd. What they then found on his mobile phones and computers showed that those earlier warnings should have been acted on.
In all, 6 people made complaints about Watkins. None were followed up.
South Wales Police missed opportunity after opportunity to bring him in for questioning, to arrest him, or to bring him to justice.
The force says it's truly sorry for its failings and has introduced wide-scale changes. The IPCC has also criticised South Yorkshire and Bedfordshire police over inaction in investigating Watkins. The singer manipulated fans to get access to his victims. The extent of his abuse may never be known. Sian Lloyd, BBC News.
Now, detectives missed repeated opportunities to bring the paedophile Ian Watkins to justice, according to a damning report by the Independent Police Complaints Watchdog. The Lost Prophets frontman was eventually sentenced to 35 years in prison for a string of sex offences. South Wales Police said they were truly sorry and had introduced new measures to improve the way they protect vulnerable people. Our Home Affairs correspondent Darshana Soni reports, and a warning: the subject matter is extremely distressing.
He was a rock singer whose band sold millions of records. But Ian Watkins was also a predatory paedophile who hid behind his celebrity. And yet he could have been stopped from abusing children 4 years earlier, according to a damning report into failings by South Wales Police.
This was one of the most disturbing and distressing investigations that I've overseen. Between the end of 2008 and September 2012, South Wales Police received 8 reports and 3 intelligence logs setting out allegations of Ian Watkins' paedophile activity. Throughout that time, Ian Watkins was free to continue offending.
The disgraced frontman is finally in prison, jailed for 35 years in 2013 after admitting numerous offences, including the attempted rape of a fan's baby. It was Watkins' former girlfriend, Joanna Mjadzelics, who first reported him to South Wales Police back in 2008. In her first TV interview following his conviction, she told this programme about her concerns.
It just got worse and worse, and then he would start telling me things about he wanted to get me pregnant so that he could rape our daughter. He wanted to kidnap children. He wanted to get me involved in it.
Over the next 4 years, she tried to report Watkins again and again, and not just to South Wales Police. She even saved text messages he had sent her that revealed his sexual interest in children. But officers dismissed her as a jilted lover, ignoring her because of what's been described as police bias.
She didn't quite fit the profile. She didn't have a convenient profile for the police. They thought it was a competition between a famous rock star and her former escort, a sex worker, and allegedly but wrongly accused of having been sectioned in the past. She didn't fit.
And yet Joanna Mjadzelics wasn't the only person to complain about Watkins. Others contacted South Wales Police, including a woman who believed he had assaulted an 11-month-old boy.
The IPCC has investigated 3 separate forces over this case: Bedfordshire, South Yorkshire and now South Wales. And yet, despite 3 critical reports, no officer from any of these forces has been sacked. And in the case of South Wales, although the watchdog recommended that 2 detectives should face misconduct hearings, the force decided to ignore this recommendation and no further action was taken against them. A 3rd officer was cleared after a hearing.
Does that mean that the IPCC is toothless?
The IPCC is an investigative body. When we think that an allegation comes in of such seriousness that we need to conduct an independent investigation, we set up a formal team, we set formal terms of reference, and the team goes where the evidence takes them.
So what's the point of the IPCC reports?
These are questions for South Wales Police, because the IPCC discharged its role.
We did try and put those questions to South Wales Police, but they refused our request for an interview. In a statement, the force said it had made significant changes to its practices as a result of the case.
I'd like to know what the point of these inquiries is as well, other than wasting public funds.
Darshana Soni reporting. Well, I'm joined now from Salford by Nazir Afzal, the former chief prosecutor for the CPS in the northwest of England. What's the key lesson here?
I feel like a stuck record. The key lessons are many, but they ultimately start with believing, or at least giving the victim or complainant a chance to be heard. What we've learned from this report, again, like I've heard from so many others, is that police officers looked for everything that would undermine or potentially undermine the complainant's account, and did not in any way, initially anyway, look at the suspect. And that has been the failing pretty much on every investigation I've seen in relation to child sexual abuse going back a decade now. Poor sharing of information, not believing, not acting upon your belief, not acting with any speed or expeditiousness. Obviously, they've made some strides in the last 2 or 3 years, which led to the convictions, and for that they need to be commended. But ultimately, there were some serious failings, and they come down to the fact that individuals, for whatever reason, chose.
Wait a minute, the convictions were for a drugs charge, and then they had the prior evidence.
Not to believe those that they should have believed.
So how can you stop this happening again?
I despair, actually, Krishnan, because time and time again, people talk about learning lessons. I have not read a report that doesn't say that we've learned lessons. I think we should get it right first time. I think that you need to have specialist officers, as I think most forces now have. You have to have very good engagement with local communities and with other bodies that are able to support victims and complainants going forward. You need to investigate the suspect. I mean, the story before around the guru in India, the same principles apply. There is equality under the law. Everybody requires being properly investigated, and that clearly is not what happened here. And for 4 years, somebody was able to carry on being a predator on children, and that is just unjustifiable.
Do we need a major retraining program? I mean, obviously there's professional development, but I mean, does something bigger need to happen?
Absolutely. I've talked to so many victims groups now up and down the country, and trainers. They know so much more than those professionals who apparently do this job day in, day out. They should be embedded in investigators and in policing organizations, delivering training and learning on a daily basis, being available to counsel and provide advice and to support investigations, rather than coming in at the end and commenting on all the failures that may have happened. That, to my mind, is the answer. That is something that requires resources, but there are massive benefits in being able to do that.
Nazir Afzal, thank you very much.
Now, it's a story as depressing as it is familiar. Yet again, An abuser slips through the net because those who attempt to tell the authorities what was happening are simply ignored. A damning report has revealed how police wasted 4 years bringing the paedophile rock star Ian Watkins to justice. Time and again, officers were warned about his behaviour by his ex-girlfriend, amongst others. Time and again, they decided the allegations were not worth investigating.
Ian Watkins, once a rock star who sold 3 million albums worldwide and had legions of fans, now known as a predatory paedophile who's serving 35 years in jail, but who was left free to abuse children for years because of a catalogue of police failures. The verdict of a damning report which said he could have been stopped much sooner.
Ian Watkins was free to continue offending because South Wales Police missed one opportunity after another to bring him in for questioning, to arrest him, to bring him to justice earlier. And at the heart of it was the way in which South Wales Police responded to the first person who came forward.
That person was Watkins' ex-girlfriend, Joanna Mjadzelics, who made numerous complaints about his behaviour to police, but she was ignored and dismissed because she was a sex worker, the report said, who the police felt lacked credibility. In a statement today, she said, "The report finally vindicates me and accepts that from the outset I was telling the truth and trying to bring a serious criminal sexual predator to justice." Speaking on her behalf, her lawyer said she should never have been disregarded.
The presentation of a laptop with indecent images that he had sent to her phone which they could access and find his ambition to abuse children in the future as well. There's the opportunity for them so they can set aside what they think of her. It doesn't matter because she was offering them independent, concrete evidence.
In fact, today's report by the police watchdog found South Wales Police received 6 separate complaints and 3 phone tip-offs about Watkins and his abuse, generating 8 police reports over a 4-year period. All of them were ignored.
The fact that there were 4 more years between 2008 and 2012 with countless number of victims of child sexual abuse by Watkins, there have been so many missed opportunities that could have protected children and prevented harm coming to them.
The force refused our request for an interview, instead issuing a statement saying South Wales Police failed to listen and properly investigate information about Watkins's offending behaviour. For this, we are truly sorry and have implemented a range of measures to improve the way we protect vulnerable people. Lessons which have come far too late for many of Ian Watkins's victims.
Saturday night.
Okay, that's all the sport for now, Chloe. See you in half an hour with more.
Thank you, Leah. Now, the police watchdog says the former singer Ian Watkins could have been arrested for child sex abuse.
Okay, I think I'm going to leave it for tonight because I think the streaming might be messing up. It's letting me down as usual. Anyway, I'll see you all very, very soon. Please let me know in the comments if you've got anything to say, and I'll see you on the next one. And don't forget to like the video. Happy New Year if I don't see you before.